Hello, it's your girl Joy at Deja King. So you all, in this video, I wanted to discuss the Sean Combs verdict and my reaction to the verdicts and other people's reaction to the verdict. So, Sean Combs was found not guilty on the most serious charges, which was the RICO racketeering conspiracy and the sex trafficking. He was found guilty on the prostitution across state lines. Now, first, we're going to show a few people's reactions of Sean Combs when he was found not guilty of RICO and sex trafficking. Take a look.
Free pop! Free pop!
Baby oil, a key piece in the trial, and outrage.
It's an atrocity. It's a disgusting decision.
The family of Sean Diddy Combs celebrating after learning his long-awaited fate in court. The family staying stoic as they entered Diddy's courthouse July 2nd before departing with smiles and waves after hearing the media mogul's partial victory.
Let's do what Diddy dance! Come on! Hey, let's do what Diddy dance!
So these are people who are clearly very, very excited that Sean Combs was acquitted of the most serious charges in his federal trial. And they were all anticipating that he was going to be released on bail. They had a bail hearing. The judge scheduled a bail hearing, and he gave the prosecution and the defense their proposal and reasoning for why he should get out on bail pending sentencing. So, of course, his bail was denied.
At least one little bit of a win today. I am happy that he got denied bail. I'm happy. That's why I sat here and watched everybody dance, do the Diddy bop. I don't hear no music now. Where's the music at?
I hear music
saying. I hear music saying, na 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 na, hey, goodbye.
But there are.
And this is the reason the judge gave for denying the bail. Okay, this is what he said. I'm going to read everything, but I'm going to read to you some key points that the judge made. He said that he leaned heavily on Combs' admission of violence, saying it was impossible for Combs to demonstrate by clear and convincing evidence that he poses no danger to any other person or the community. Then he stated that at trial, the defense conceded defendant's violence in personal relationships, saying it happened in relationship to Combs' ex-girlfriend, Cassie Ventura, and Jane. The judge also highlighted Combs was admittedly violent with Jane in June 2024. This was at a time when he should have known that he needed to stay clean, the judge said. So, and then he said that he ruled that Combs' lawyers had not adequately shown that Combs poses no danger to any person. Now, his attorney made the argument that he revealed that Combs attended meetings in Batterer's program at New York organization called the Urban Resource Institute before his arrest. and that Jane had helped Combs write the letter to get him into the program. Okay. So, and Agnophilia, which is Combs's the head defense attorney, called Combs a model prisoner and stated, "I just think we should trust him. He's not going to flee." But the argument failed with the judge. He rebuffed the lawyer at one point by telling him, "You full-throatedly in your closing argument told the jury that there was violence here, and domestic violence is violence." Maureen Comey, the prosecutor, she stated, "Combs is an extremely violent man with an extraordinarily dangerous temper who has shown no remorse and no regret for his multiple victims." She said the only exceptional thing about Combs was his wealth, his violence, and his brazenness. All right, so again, the judge sided with the prosecution, okay? And he had every legal right to do so because there is something called the Bail Act or something of that nature where if someone has shown to be violent, the judge can keep them behind bars until their sentencing. So again, this is within the realm of the law. So the judge tentatively scheduled the sentencing for October the 3rd. And he noted that Combs had already spent nearly 10 months at the detention center in Brooklyn. So, and he's also indicated he was open for expedited sentencing process, which Combs' attorney requested. So they're supposed to have a hearing on July 8th to discuss that, okay? So here's the thing. Now, my thoughts on the trial and the verdict. I believe the prosecution put on a solid case. Was it the best case? I believe it was a very solid case. I think that with the jury, it seems that the jury, because this is something that's very important. For RICO, you have to at first establish that it's a criminal enterprise, okay? And that there are co-conspirators who are conspiring on the same crimes. And if I'm not mistaken, it has to be a continuing crime for 10 years or more. So I believe that the jury either didn't believe it was a criminal enterprise and that Sean Combs was acting on his own, or they just didn't want him to possibly spend the rest of his life in prison, so there was nullification. Because in terms of the sex trafficking for Cassie, I want to show you a clip of what a defense attorney that I follow on YouTube said about the sex trafficking of Cassie. This was after the verdict. Please take a look.
You're about to see Sean Combs sexually traffic Cassie in violation of 18 U.S.C. 1591. Now, what we're seeing here is horrible, inexcusable, and deserves criminal punishment. This is just disgusting. Ask yourself, though, if you can figure out at what moment this becomes sex trafficking. And boom, right there. You just saw Sean Combs, also known as Puff Daddy, P. Diddy, what have you, sex traffic Cassie Ventura. There are two more angles that we should look at. I'd like to point out that at the trial, there was no dispute that this is certainly Sean Combs. That's one angle. The second angle that we're about to see is probably the best one, where you can actually catch the moment that he violates 18 U.S.C. 1591 as expressed in the jury charges. As Cassie walking down the hall from her room to the elevator bank. Diddy is following after, wearing a towel and socks and nothing else. Moments later, right there. That was it. Now you're probably pretty confused. Most people would not see sex trafficking in this act, and frankly, just standing alone, it doesn't really look like what we think of sex trafficking to be. However, if you want to understand the state's theory and how that theory plays out in the jury charges, the instructions given to the jury as to whether or not they should convict Diddy.
So, Sean Combs, the moment he started dragging Cassie back into that hotel room, that's sex trafficking, kidnapping. Those are all part of the predicate acts. I mean, and that's the law. Like, whether you agree with it or not, per the jury instructions in the law, that is sex trafficking, and you only need one time. So based on that, I just believe the jury did not want Sean Combs to spend a possibility of 15 to life in prison. And so there was jury nullification. Now, with his two counts of prostitution, because he was found guilty for Cassie and for Jane. Both of those max out at 10 years. The judge can have that run concurrent or consecutive, and he could possibly give him the max. Now, if he gave him the max, he would do, and it was consecutive, it would be 20 years. I don't believe that the judge is going to ask for that. For one, Sean Combs is a first-time offender. He doesn't have a criminal record. But I do believe, as the law states, the judge can take into consideration, just like he did the Bell hearing, the violence Sean Combs has displayed numerous times, and that he knows there's more information that we weren't even privy to, or the jury wasn't even privy to, because the prosecution was not allowed it in for legal reasons. We shall see what he is going to decide. But it would seem that since he's going to have Sean Combs stay in jail pending his sentencing, that he's going to give him time. Now, here's my opinion about the reactions and my own reactions for this. Okay, here's the thing. I can understand supporters, especially his family, being relieved that he is not, there's no possibility that he's going to be sentenced to life in prison. Anyone, family member, that's devastating. Now, so I can understand them being relieved of that. And even some of his supporters or fans or whatever you want to call them, okay, you're happy about that. You're happy that he wasn't found guilty of the sex trafficking, because that's mandatory 15 years. The judge has no discretion on that. If he had been sentenced to sex trafficking, found guilty of that, mandatory 15 years minimum. And because there's violence, he might have gotten even more than that. But we all saw the Cassie video. And if you followed the trial, you saw numerous pictures and testimony that he was a violent man, extremely violent. And so it's very strange to me that anyone is celebrating a violent man. That's very strange to me. You want to celebrate a man who beats women. Okay? He's a woman beater. Now, I do believe in redemption. I do believe that people can change, but that's going to take a lot of therapy. Sean Combs, to really change, he needs extensive therapy. Okay? So, for those people that were outside baby oiling themselves up and doing the most and threatening other people because they disagreed with the verdict, I mean, is this who you want to put on a pedestal? A woman beater?
People out of here celebrating, man. Yo, check it out. They are celebrating, but he's still going to jail. You understand? They celebrate, I was thinking about some stuff. I said, they celebrating for a psychotic, narcissist, a sociopath sex offender, abusing and degrading women, beating on them, brother, and having them appease him and his homosexual tendencies by letting random men, prostitutes, male prostitutes, brother, ejaculate their sexual juices on them so he can lick them off. Is this what's happening in the fucking hood now? Is that what's good in the hood? Tell me, is that what's happening in the streets, brother? Is that what the industry that came down to now? They celebrating him.
And so, and let's be clear for a second. I want to take it back for a minute. Anyone who knows Sean Combs or who has been around him and in that circle, you know that this was a long time coming. It is not a surprise at all. The only surprise to some would be it took this long, okay? Many of you may not know this, but I am an author. I write books, okay? And so one of my very first books that I wrote was So Pretty in Pink, which I self-published. Let me get that. Hold on a second. The first book I ever wrote was So Pretty in Pink. Oh goodness, we're matching. You see the pink? Okay, so anyway, the first book I wrote, and I self-published this book, it was called So Pretty in Pink. And this book was loosely based on my life, loosely based on people that I was around, or especially, in the adult part of the book, in the entertainment industry, the music industry. And the character T-Rock was loosely based off of Sean Combs. I eventually end up, not even a few months after I self-published this book, I end up getting a book deal with St. Martin's Press, and they bought the rights to the book, and they changed the title to Dirty Little Secrets, okay? Again, T-Rock is loosely based on Sean Combs, all right? The character T-Rock. And lots of things that he did in this book are things that were discussed on trial. And this is the interesting part about this. Do you know when these books were released? This book was released, I put this out, self-published it, I believe it was 2005. I think it was, yes. Dirty Little Secrets came out in 2006. We're now in 2025, which means I've been talking about this man, not as his name, Sean Combs, but again, loosely based, things that's been going on with him since 2005. Anybody who knows Sean Combs, again, especially those who know him and call him Puff, knows that none of this is a surprise. And honestly, I know a lot of people are saying, oh, he only got convicted of the prostitution charges. Well, you know what? You should be lucky he got that. You don't ever count that man out. I'm serious. You can never count him out. So it's almost a surprise that he got convicted of those two charges, because he has a long history of figuring out how to get out of things. Okay? And, but again, I do believe in redemption. I do believe that people can change. And so, Sean Combs, when he was found not guilty of the serious charges, you can see right here, he's got on his knees in the courtroom and started praying. Before the verdict came in, from my understanding, he did a whole prayer circle in the courtroom, okay? So, is he sincere? Or is it like that video he released after Cassie, the video came out, him beating up Cassie? Because remember, less than 24 hours when he settled with Cassie, he claimed that he had never laid hands on her. That, most of that stuff was just basically BS, right? But then when that tape dropped, the video dropped in March, he does this whole apology video saying, this was just a bad time in my life, woo, 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 right? And then fast forward, come to find out that even when he was being investigated by the federal, he was under federal investigation, he was still having freak-offs. Again, you all, prostitution is illegal. I mean, I don't know how many other ways to tell you this. Besides some counties in Nevada, prostitution is illegal. Prostitution is illegal. He was still in freak-offs, still doing heavy narcotics, still laid hands on Jane, okay? So I just hope that all this praying that he was doing, that he's sincere, that this was the wake-up call he needed to really get his life on track. Because if not, I can promise you, this is going to be an R. Kelly situation. R. Kelly got away. He went to trial and was found not guilty and walked out a free man. Instead of R. Kelly saying, praise God, hallelujah, I'm going to do better, I'm going to get the help I need, I'm going to change my ways, he didn't do none of that. He doubled down on it. And now he's doing 30 years. That's just how life works, people. And this is whether you believe in God or not. It's called laws of the land, the universe. Eventually, you are going to be held responsible for your actions and your choices. And they have consequences. And so again, instead of these people rubbing themselves down with baby oil in the streets, cheering for Sean Combs as if he's some sort of martyr, because let's be clear, I don't think anybody in this video that's cheering for Sean Combs have ever been to a Puff or P. Diddy party. I'm just about sure, okay? Never. And I don't believe he would ever invite any of them. And the real part that should stand out is that people that he did invite to the party, none of them showed up cheering. We haven't heard anybody come out saying, we're so relieved that Sean Combs was found not guilty on RICO and sex trafficking. So, again, that speaks volumes. The people that were at his parties, besides his family members, of course, the celebrities and people of that nature, business executives and those sorts of people, nobody was outside rubbing baby oil on themselves saying, a freako is not a RICO. No, nobody was saying that. Okay. And so what I take from that is, people, please do better. These were serious charges. There were victims. I believe that some people didn't want to believe Cassie was a victim because she got 30 million. 30 million is not going to erase the abuse that she endured. Okay. And for the people who was like, well, she could have left. Why didn't she leave? She just stayed for the lifestyle. Well, let me ask you this question. All those women out there that stand with their man who is broke, what's their reason? What's their reason? Why is the woman with the broke man, why is she still staying with him? Because mental and physical abuse is real. It's real. Whether you're broke or rich. So, think about that. Everybody. And it's really, and it's the most thing that's most surprising to me are women that are out there. Oh my God, he's free. What do you think is going to happen now that he's free? That he's going to swoop you up and make you Cassie? I'm just confused. What do you think is going to come from you cheering from him? A whole woman beater of every woman he has ever been with. Now, I didn't know him or anything about him when he went to Howard, but if what people say are true, he's been laying hands since he was at Howard. Okay? From Howard on up. And this is who you all want to root for and put on a pedestal. I mean, ladies, please do better. You seem like a pick-me, one of those pick-me women. Was that term called pick-me? Listen, men never, ever respect pick-me women. So cheering for a man, forget about the fact that he got off. Again, I understand if you all are excited because he's not going to spend the rest of his life in prison. I understand that because, again, I do believe in redemption. And if he can get help and try to do better, praise God, more power to him. Okay, but we haven't seen that yet. We haven't seen any evidence of that. The only evidence we've seen is that he is a vile man when it comes to women and men, just people in general. So to applaud him and lift him up like he's a god is very, very sad. And it just lets me know that there are a lot of people who are in broken environments, because when you know better, you do better. And clearly there's a segment of people who don't know any better. All right, so you all, that is my opinion on the trial, the verdict, and Sean Combs, the man. Okay, and again, any woman, man, or anybody that's out there who's a victim of abuse, please get help. Please show women empathy. Victims, empathy. Because it could always be your mother, your sister, your daughter, a cousin, someone that you love. And if you are an abuser, get help. Because I really believe people that are violent like that, they just have a demon inside of them. That's it. They just they have a demon inside of them, because all of us get angry sometimes. All of us want to lash out, but we learn self-control. We learn discipline. We learn that you have to use other ways to de-escalate. When you see men just beating women, Cassie laying on the floor, getting stomped and beat, that's because a demon is just in you and you allow the demon to just take over. Get help. Get help. Because if you don't get help, I can promise you bad things are going to happen. Sean Combs, who at one time was said to be a billionaire, but he is still a very wealthy man. I can promise you he does not want to be sitting behind bars right now. And knowing that when sentencing comes, there's a possibility that the judge can have him serve several years. He does not want to be there. This is a man that's used to having everyone do everything from him. He doesn't even get his own water. So that's not where he wants to be. But if you don't learn self-control and discipline, there's a very good chance you can end up where Sean Combs is. So do better. Okay, you all. I hope that you all found this video and somewhat insightful. And please share your comments. Do you feel like the right verdict was reached in the Sean Combs trial? Do you think that he should have been found not guilty on all charges? Or do you think that he should have been found guilty on the RICO and sex trafficking? I would love to hear your thoughts on this because this trial, it's a trial that's going to go down in the history books for sure. So I would love to hear your thoughts on it. Okay, my loves, I will chat with you all later. Okay, bye. Bye.